Federal High Court in Abuja has convicted the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, for terrorism after a decade-long legal battle. Justice James Omotosho delivered the judgment on Thursday, ruling that evidence presented clearly showed Nnamdi Kanu committed acts of terrorism through his broadcast and directives. The conviction follows his 2015 arrest, 2021 rearrest in Kenya, and years of contested trials. During the proceedings, Kanu protested the court's jurisdiction and demanded to be shown the specific law he breached, leading to his forceful removal from the courtroom for what the judge described as unruly behavior. Despite his objections and pleas of not guilty, the court held that his sit-at-home orders in the southeast and repeated broadcasts encouraging attacks on security agencies amounted to preparatory and executed acts of terrorism. Justice Omotosho emphasized that Kanu's rhetoric incited violence, restricted citizens' movement, and resulted in the loss of lives, stressing that the IPOB leader showed no remorse throughout the trial. The court found him guilty on all 7 counts, noting that his conduct had far-reaching consequences on the communities in the southeast. While prosecution sought the maximum penalty, that is death sentence by the way, the judge opted for life imprisonment instead of a death sentence, citing global shifts away from capital punishment. Kanu's conviction comes months after another separatist figure, Simon Ekpa, was jailed in Finland for inciting violence in Nigeria, and his legal team has already signaled their intention to appeal. Nze, you've been very vocal about the incarceration and the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, and you followed it closely over the years. Now, we've come to a head. Nnamdi Kanu has been sentenced to life imprisonment for terrorism. What is your take on the judgments and the entire proceedings yesterday in court?
First and foremost, thank you very much for this. Let me clap for the shameless Justice James Omotosho.
Using the word shameless, the language.
I am clapping, I'm giving him applause. Whether you call it sarcastic or whatsoever, I'm coming. He said that the judgment amounted to maximum punishment, which was death. But him, in his magnanimity, gave him life sentence. Now let us come back to the reality. Let me state categorically, frontally, that first, the judgment of yesterday by Justice James Omotosho first was a sentencing and life imprisonment of Igbo voice. It is a life imprisonment of Igbo conscience. And it is a life imprisonment of Igbo identity in Nigeria. I sat back to watch this because you can't tell me that something is obtainable here and not obtainable here. That is why I use the word I use, which I know that a lot of people say, why will you use that for an honorable justice and all that and all that? First, why is Nnamdi Kanu accused of terrorism? And the bandits that are killing and still killing and kidnapping and collecting ransoms are not terrorists. I said something somewhere in one of the media that in 2015, when Muhammad Buhari came up as president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Fulani herdsmen were on rampage. And their intention was to overrun southeast, south, and southwest. And now, it was this man Nnamdi Kanu from his hideout that was giving signals. When these men will enter the bush, Nnamdi Kanu will say, no, they are here, and the community will guide themselves. They are here, just doing like what Elisha in the Bible did against the Syrian armies. Immediately, this Muhammadu Buhari, a Fulani man, proscribed IPOB and ESN as terrorists. But not the Fulani Marauders, not the Fulani blood-sucking herders who were that in the time of operation of Nnamdi Kanu, operating in Biafra when he was free, that we had a Sunday Igboho who was operating in the southwest. Remember that we had that. Where is Sunday Igboho today? Which court in Nigeria tried Sunday Igboho? Do you remember that we have a man called the president of Mietiala, who we also saw gathered his people and was giving them military training to fight against Nigeria? We all saw it. And Nigerian government has not apprehended that man. He's still working freely on the soil of Nigeria. And everybody is shouting, Nnamdi Kanu did this, Nnamdi Kanu did that. And they're making it look as if in the southeast there is higher level of crime than the northeast, than the north central, than the northwest. We are in the southeast. How many mosques have been burnt? How many churches have been burnt? How many times have a school been invaded and students scattered away into the bush? That's the question everybody should ask. And this man, you call him a terrorist. And Justice James Omotosho is expecting applause. Let me just say this. Do you know that Eyinaya Baribe said that this judgment was expected because it is like it has been predetermined? Sometime towards ending of last month and the early this month, we saw a post that Omotosho had been of certain gifts here and there. We saw a post.
Don't make statements.
I can still bring the post out. So if it is not right, let them go and arrest whoever made that post. And the two things that were stapled in that thing was either sentencing to life, to life imprisonment or death penalty. And finally, he has given the life imprisonment. I felt so bad when I listened to some of Nigerian politicians of Igbo extraction saying that we are now waiting for political whatever to sort it out. Perhaps the president coming to declare amnesty. It is not proper. The man you have jailed stood for the punishment, persecution that is being meted against his people. Look at the way, even this same judgment is part of that punishment. Because until you punish the president of Mietiala, until you punish Boko Haram, until you punish ISWAP, until you punish bandits, and the rest of the criminal gangs that are operating in the north, if not, the judgment of Nnamdi Kanu is partial and one-sided. You can't tell me that Sunday Igboho is walking out free. Mietiala is walking out free. Bandits are coming to the community to buy and sell. And the local government chairmen are gathering to negotiate with them. How many times has any human being gathered to negotiate with ESN? I'm not encouraging that. In as much as I stand against the criminalities that are being carried out in the southeast, Igbos have this sanctity for blood. We don't shed blood anyhow.
All right.
In as much as I don't in any way agree with anybody carrying arms. Yes, if we are agitating for self-reliance, this thing, we can still do that on papers. We can do it on the news. We can do it elsewhere and not carrying arms.
All right.
I don't agree with anybody lifting arms against the state. But we have people who have lifted arms and nothing has been done to them, and we are bringing this. So I believe that Igbo conscience have been sentenced into life imprisonment.
All right.
I believe that Igbo identity has been sentenced and Igbo voice have been sentenced. I expect those politicians, both in the Senate, in the House of Reps, the governors, the political office holders, across, and the traditional leaders across Igbo land to rise up. In fact, not just southeast, south, south.
Right.
To rise up to this and say, no, it is not good. This injustice meted on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is injustice meted to us all.
All right, very well. Daniel, what is your take on the judgment on Nnamdi Kanu?
Whether to in a capital punishment, whether to pass a death sentence or judge has a right. There was this case of what's her name now? This actress. She's in this Yoruba category. She took drugs. She was arrested by NDLA, and after that arrest, she came before the judge, and the judge said that he just got back from Mecca, and that he will be lenient on her. So what I'm trying to say is that a judge has some discretion on how to give certain judgment. Having said that, I think that Nnamdi Kanu is facing trial on his own and as the leader of IPOB. It is not all Igbos who are IPOB. Igbos are never on trial whatsoever. Now, why some of us question certain bases of the nation is to say that let the same brush that go from the south should go to the west, should go to the north, should go to the east. Once you begin to have that, people have a right to their own bias. This thing started in 2015, 10 years after. This is where we are. And in all of this, Kanu himself had showed some level force that he didn't trust. It was Binta Nyako. She said he has lost trust in Binta Nyako and all. And Binta Nyako had to excuse herself. And Omotosho was brought on stage. He hired Kanu Agabi, son, Mike Ezekome, son, Ikpeazu, son, Etiaba, son, all as his legal team. And for me, where it now mattered most, you ask that you do not want the affiliation. And unfortunately, you started listing some very funny characters, like Governor of Lagos State as a witness. What has Governor of Lagos State got to do with what happened with IPOB? And people even have immunity that the court cannot even summon them. Okay, let's see what they will come to say. On that day, you requested to the judge that you do not want, you are dropping all of the witnesses that are part of what you wanted to. So, again, you gave room for me. You gave room to the prosecuting team to go ahead because there was clearly no defense. If a case that you were given life imprisonment, there was some defense. Kanu Agabi entered into your team. In fact, his ability to want to take over was that you must first apologize to the judge, you must apologize to the prosecuting team. Look at what he displayed yesterday in court. And so for me, I think no ethnic thing is on trial. Never.
All right.
I have had friends. No, I'm coming now.
Okay.
You gave enough time. Let me just
go ahead.
I'm just building. Now, having said that, I think that when Simon Ekpa was jailed in Finland, nobody said Igbo was on trial. But that was Nigeria. Nobody said Igbo was on trial. But I think that I expected the person of Kanu to understand certain intricacies in Nigeria. That one, in all honesty, I do not believe, as a person, this is my personal opinion, and I have advocated for it at every stages that I have the privilege to speak, that I think that people who agitated for independent of a particular place, it should not be people you jail. I do not buy into it. People can. It's a constitutional right. But once they begin to take arms against a state, ESN took arms against a state. It was published, videos showing, what's his name now? Simon Ekpa showed some of those things, how soldiers were killed and all. And I think that at that point, Kanu should have separated himself from this man. I am not into these agitations, but unfortunately, he started saying it when he was in DSS detention. And I think that at that point it was very late. Again, is that judgment of yesterday harsh? For me as Daniel, as an individual, absolutely. Do we need to have such judgment? Not in any way. But I think that for me, no ethnic group in Nigeria is on trial. It is the IPOB leader who was on trial yesterday. And unfortunately, it is not all Igbos who are IPOB. Same way, it is not all IPOBs that are Igbo. No, that's not true. So for me, I think that, let's see what the Court of Appeal will say, because they said they are appealing it. And at the end of the day, the same legal team you said you are dropping, you now took them up as a consultant in the last day of court judgment. So I think, to me, in all honesty, I think as a nation, there are certain things we can revisit. This judgment is one of them.
All right.
And lastly, it will affect him, unfortunately, because as a British citizen, it is said that those people who naturalized and became British citizens, if they are convicted of any terrorism charges around the world, they automatically loses that British citizenship. And unfortunately, I hope that there could be a political solution to remove that terrorism charges, or rather a verdict on him, and allow him go free. I do not believe our prisons do not need such people. They can talk, they can do anything. I think the political class needed to do something.
Okay, very well. There's 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I think looking at what happened there in the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, we know that an individual is an individual, and sometimes when an individual carries out his activities to an extent, he can own up to it. But why did I come up with this point that the Igbo nation is on trial under Justice James Omotosho and Tinubu government? Is because what is accused of this fellow also had to connect with what happened to the other fellow. The Tinubu's kinsman is walking free. The Fulani man is walking free, and Igbo man is going in for it. So that is the point where I'm coming. It's not all about Nnamdi Kanu. If it is about Nnamdi Kanu, one would say that he's an individual and he can face whatever stuff. But look at the way the Igbos are being handled in Nigeria. You discover that you have a case and you go to police station with somebody from another ethnic group, and that person is let go. But when it has to do with these people, you say catch them and kill them. We don't and can never allow such in our place. So let the government of Nigeria and those who are either working with them as appointees or elected officials talk with Mr. President and let something be done. And I believe that in the appeal court, let appeal court do the needful and quash the judgment of James Omotosho so that Nigeria can move forward as one Nigeria.
All right, very well. I wish we have more time, but sadly we are out of time. But before I call it a day for this program, it's very important that I make this known. The judgment on Nnamdi Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, one would say to a large extent is a very sad one. It's a very sad one because the reason for all these things stemmed from one thing. They started way before Nnamdi Kanu. It was the reason that led to Biafran War. And the reason that after the Biafran War, every Igbo person received less than, how many pounds? 40 pounds. 2 pounds to start life afresh. Igbos lost their properties. Igbos lost investments, lost a lot of things, and started life with nothing. And years down the line, cries of marginalization have continued. And the federal government has not in any way tried to even engage this ethnicity for 1 minute to understand what these cries are about. Niger Delta started their own agitation. There was economic sabotage. There were kidnaps of white men and other people working in the oil and gas industry. And guess what? There was amnesty. And there's some people were sent abroad. Monies were given. In fact, part of the figureheads of that particular amnesty, of that particular agitation in Niger Delta, I am saying it on national television. The reward system and the preferential treatment and amnesia and selective treatment of certain ethnic group by the federal government. Part of the people, or one or two persons, in fact, one person, notably, that was one of the arrowheads of that agitation, had his own military, if I may use the word, had his own boys on ground, currently is guarding the waterways of Nigeria with the same people armed. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. There was amnesty given to these people. Now, we have bandits currently killing, and the killings by these bandits, what are they exactly agitating for? What is the agitation of the bandits? What is the agitation of the Killer Fulani herdsmen? What is the agitation of Boko Haram? What is the agitation of ISWAP? Yet, the government started Operation Safe Corridor to rehabilitate and reintegrate them. And up until now, we are yet to hear of certain successful prosecutions. These people are operating in broad daylight. They go on TikTok and do live. They flaunt ill-gotten ransom money, and the government somehow cannot clamp down on these people. Yet a man is pushing. Yes, I would not say that I support violence or certain orthodox methods that were employed along the line. But this is a cry of marginalization from a certain group of people in the country. And at the end of the day, it's also worthy of note that in October 2022, an appeal court in Abuja dropped all charges against Nnamdi Kanu, and federal government still took it up. And it's also worthy of note that probably Nigerians have forgotten that when this issue started in 2022, the IPOB was not a terrorist organization. In fact, if you follow the sequence of the court hearings and judgments and all of that and the appeal, it was after Nnamdi Kanu's charges were dropped that the government proscribed IPOB as a terrorist organization and then started a fresh charge against Nnamdi Kanu for terrorism. It is, Nigerians can verify this information. I mean, it's out there. It did not start as terrorism. He was discharged and acquitted in 2022. An appeal court, a high court discharged him, an appeal court, an appeal court discharged him in October 2022. And after that, he was not even released to start with. And then, federal government proscribed IPOB, and that was how he started standing trial for terrorism. It did not start as terrorism from get-go. And here we are at this moment. The question is, at this very sensitive time of the country, is this the right way to go? Considering that the Igbos are still hurting and they feel their voices are not being heard. Should we look at the formation of the most sensitive positions in this country and how it has gone to a certain religion and group of persons? Are these things not real? The question I am asking is, the agitations of marginalization, are they not real? The Southeast also contributes to the economy of this country. Some Southeast states are part of the NDDC states, oil-producing states in Nigeria. And it's only fair and just that the pains of Biafra war, that the pains that the Igbos have carried even up until now is addressed. Nigeria needs healing. And until we come to a table of negotiation where truth is being told, and then and only then can healing start. What I will say finally is this. I urge the federal government to go for political solution to this matter of Nnamdi Kanu. It is not to the benefit of the Igbos. It is definitely not to the benefit of Nigeria as a government. Sheikh Gumi is walking free. The same man who is saying that the government should employ bandits to guard our forests. Bandits that are killing people. He's openly negotiating and he's walking free. A lot is left on the table, a lot of questions, a lot of things are begging for answers. Like I said, a word is enough for the wise.